Welcome into the Pop Culture Pile Driver. My name is Jason Rossi. You can follow us along over on Twitter at Pop Culture PD. If you want to follow me for whatever stupid reason that may be, you can follow me at Jason D. Rossi. And with me, as always, is my tag team partner right here in the podcast sphere and streaming, wherever you're finding us. He goes by the Twitter handle of at Billy D2411. He seems to have some dust on his chest or something. He is Billy D. What's going on, man?
Getting the dirt off my shoulder. I actually just pulled this out of the closet. Haven't worn it in a while. So, yeah, that's that. Long day for me, as I assume for you. You're looking a little disheveled yourself.
I look great. I look great. I am ready. Woo! Been doing this all day. My personality's on as a 10 and my personal life's a 2, but who cares? We're ready to have some fun.
Indeed. I'm very excited for this. I'm not a big wrestling fan anymore, as you probably know.
Boo,
I'm not. Shirtless Roman Reigns is doing it for me, though. I'm not going to lie.
Frost is about to do it now.
No, I have 2 weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row, 4 weeks in a row, shirtless, exposed boobies.
I might pop the top tonight. I'm feeling loose. Maybe our guest will. We'll get to him in just a few. Someone's popping the top tonight, baby. We just don't know who. Better than the debate. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bill, we have a ton to get to today. Obviously, if you're joining us, much appreciate that. Don't forget you can subscribe on iTunes. Leave a 5-star review, please. It would help us go where we need to be in front of people. It is at Pop Culture Pile Driver. Also, you can find us anywhere you get podcasts, including now Amazon Music. They've just started doing podcasts. So whether you're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts, we are there. Search Pop Culture Pile Driver. It's 3 words, PCP, if you know what I mean. Also, Bill, you can find us on Facebook, part of the hashtag DorkSharedGooniverse. If you don't know how to spell that, because I don't either, just search dork and then shared. I think you can spell those 2 words. I think that's it for those plugs, Bill. What's recap last week, Bill. We had a wacky one, didn't we?
Yeah, it was quite the week. Davey he was pretty mean to us. He was mean. He had some cheap shots at you. I actually think Davey and I are quite alike. We both do everything, as he said, gross motor righty, but fine motor lefty. Share a lot of the same opinions on music and stuff. But man, he took some cheap shots at us, at you, and rightfully so. He was the Rossi horrible take of the week for calling Blink-182 a one-hit wonder. And I did some research. I cut a video that's really just for the DSG about his take. It was all over the place, and then he recanted his take unbelievably on the Dork podcast. Go listen to that, as he was a flipping and a flopping, bipping and a bopping. And he admitted that it's not a one-hit wonder. He also said he did it despite you for taking Chameleonaire with the first pick, which was not your first pick. Your first pick was Dexy's Midnight Runners. And then he said that he leaned into it, even though he took 3 other actual one-hit wonders, which is just insanity. So if you're going to lean into it, lean into it. He didn't lean into it. Then he recanted it. It was all over the place, but I love Davey. He won the poll. And I think besides Blink-182 and Janis Joplin, the Knack My Sharona, which I probably should have taken over.
I'm so pissed, Bill. I haven't slept all week.
Vanessa Carlton?
Yeah, you Vanessa Carlton. I didn't sleep all week. I didn't sleep all week because of that.
I mean, I was going to take it, but I honestly thought Vanessa Carlton was a one-hit wonder. Turns out, not even close.
Nah, she got 3.
She got 3, but my buddy did play me the Houses song, wherever the hell it was, Yellow Houses, Brick Walls.
No, white houses or whatever.
White Houses.
She talks.
Never heard it before.
Did you hear it?
Yeah. It's a good song. It's a banger. She's actually totally give her credit. I should have taken the Knack My Sharona in that spot, but I think his worst take, the actual worst take, is he said Jaquan Tipsy. What is that? And also, I mean, if you don't like Metro Station, shake it. I don't know what your problem is. That is a fun song. That's a good song for teens, tweens, guys in blue jeans. Everybody loves that song.
I can't agree. I mean, I can't disagree. I dig it. I like different versions of music. It was a really fun podcast, nonetheless. Listen, the heat that has been on my back, but I feel a little bit better. I feel a little more vindicated.
More confessional, vindicated. That could be a one-hit wonder, technically.
No, they had hits, dude. They had Hands Down is one of the best Crush songs.
Oh, that really is. Hands in the floor. That's a great build song too.
I don't know what you just sang, but
whatever it is.
But nonetheless, we're not here to talk music. Bill, I don't know what you're drinking. You're fired up too, but
I actually got told by somebody at my work to go have a few beers after the day I had.
Okay,
it's been a rough day.
Well, listen, we're only going to lift your spirits in this one. You did mention not as big of a wrestling guy as you were before, but real quick, Bill, let's get into the Rossi Wrestling Minute. All right, Bill. So this week, I never would tell you. I promise you, I will tell you when things are what I think worth your time. We have a guest who tells you about basically what's trash and what we see a lot of on a week-to-week basis. But the Sami Zayn, AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy triple threat ladder match for the IC title. There was 2 up there. I don't want to get into the whole storyline for you. Was, Bill, I think has been the match of quarantine. I've hyped up a lot. I really liked, I know months back, I liked Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre as a title match, but this Bill is literally one of the better ladder matches, the more creative finishes. I don't even want to tell you much about it, aside from the fact of I don't even think it was that long. It might have been 23 minutes most. Awesome match. Completely worth your time. 3 absolute of the best in the biz in the match. I'm not a big Jeff Hardy guy come 2020, but Sami Zayn was incredible. AJ Styles, you can do no wrong. And it was just a perfect mix. You definitely got to get out of your way to see that from Clash of Champions.
So I buy that more than your Finn Balor Bebe match, which I saw, and it was fine. It was good. It was a good match. But this one I can actually 100% believe because I think AJ Styles, one of the top performers that's ever lived, up there with, the best of the best of the best with honors, sir. And then Sami Zayn, when he's going, there's really nobody else like him. He had probably one of the greatest matches in NXT history. You were there. I think it was Shinsuke Nakamura's first ever match in the WWE/NXT. So I believe that. And Jeff Hardy, I saw the video clip of him doing a swanton old school on the ladder. So he's still bringing the heat at some points in matches. And he always kind of knew how to work a match. He does go through the motions a little bit, but I love him. So I'll watch that.
Yeah,
I'll watch the shit out of that.
It's really good. I don't know, I'm not huge on star ratings. Obviously, we all do it. That's kind of the fun. Dave Meltzer kind of started that, but I don't know what it got, but it deserves. If I were ever to read into what a rating is, this deserves a 5-star rating. It was that damn good.
Dave Meltzer can also eat a D because he did not he created it in wrestling, but he stole it from, I don't know, restaurants, hotels, movies. He didn't create the 5-star rating. He just did it, and it was probably 6 stars if it was in the Tokyo Dome. So.
He's gone 7 stars there too. But nonetheless, Bill, we're here today to talk about wrestling. And we're talking about finishing moves. Now, there could be 1,000 of them. There could be 1,000,000 finishing moves. We narrowed this down to 25 for 2 reasons. 1, time. How much we could go on forever. And we put some lists together, and these are the ones we came up with, but we can't do it alone, Bill. With September sweeps, this is the final time for our September sweeps. It's going to be, in a way, it's going to be refreshing to just do a podcast with you in the future, but I'm super excited to bring this guy in. This is a guest that we have talked about teaming up with this other podcast for years, technically. Things just haven't worked out. We're still we're not full Voltron here. We're getting our way there, but I'm super excited to bring in the man who spits the super hot fire each week when it comes to the Jobber Knocker. It is JC of the Jobber Knocker podcast. JC, what's up, man?
How we doing, boys?
Look at this.
Headband and tank top. I absolutely love it.
The Celtics lost on Sunday. We're back to quarantine, JC, man.
I love that. Well, first off, congrats on your podcast being one of the go-tos for us now with wrestling. We used to both do the same kind of thing. We both balance each other out now. For those who still huge wrestling fans that are listening to us, please go over there, subscribe to the Jobber Knocker. JC, real quick, what did you guys talk about this week?
Oh, what didn't we talk about this week? We obviously gave the complete breakdown of Clash of Champions, and boys, right on the money. Triple threat ladder match. Come on, that's awesome. But there was a little bit of Jerry Springer action on Raw. I don't know if you boys caught it, but I'm a big fan of the Mysterio family drama. Nestlemania, not so much, so that's always a good listen.
Yeah, I'm already scared. So I'm obviously Nestle couldn't be with us tonight. We'll definitely hook up with you guys again, especially as we get to it's a political season. And me and Bill have talked a little bit about some debates because it's odd enough. I've never met Nestle. I think I've seen him in passing once, and Billy always says, "Oh, you two would it would be like a love-hate relationship because we're very alike, but probably hate that about each other." But I can say that what you just described already is my feeling. I'm all about what's going on with this Rey Mysterio family drama, but I'm also do I really need this right now?
Yes, you do. This? You need the trash. You need the trash mixed in.
I miss Raw Underground. That was my real sad. Where was Raw Underground this week?
They had a COVID outbreak, unfortunately. It sounds like
the whole underground
had COVID. Shane McMahon too. So.
Oh
yeah,
boy,
well, it is sad.
That's not real. Don't quote me.
Report it here first.
It is sad Nestle couldn't be here because you guys would be two peas in a really annoying pod together, but literally a pod actually. But he's got his own tag team he's got to take care of at home, so he's quite busy at all times. Yeah. But we got the super hot fire in JC here, so one of my PICs back in the day at my old job, and it's a pleasure to have him here right now.
I'm thrilled, boys. I'm thrilled.
Partner in crime.
Oh, partner in crime. And just so you guys know, real quick background, we'll get into this tier list in just a moment. We texted each other. We were on this text chain. We had a text going in 2017 when me and Billy were first flirting with doing a podcast.
Oh, I remember this.
And there's somewhere on a SoundCloud out there, if you're so bored with your life, that if you want to look up, I don't even know what we called
Clobbering Time.
Bill, with the memory, Clobbering Time.
I bought the website, clobberingtime.com. It's still ours. All
right. Well, we can figure that out another day. But yeah, we recorded a couple Saturdays, hung out a bit, had some fun. So it's first time being put out to the masses, but it's super excited for it. So here's the rules. Now I have to be very clear, concise, right? Rules are this. We're going to go through 25 finishers. We're going to come up with the three of us to say where we think it fits. Let me see if I can pop this on the screen. I've never done this with three people, so should be interesting what this looks like. But if I'm not on the screen or somebody comes off the screen, not a big deal. It's an audio podcast somewhat. Oh, I think we can. Can I put a screen on? All right. So what's going to happen is we are going to go through all 25 of the, if you would, sorry, I have to stall for a second. We have to go through all 25 of them. We're each going to pick where they fall in what category. I'll pull it up in a second. And then at the very end, JC, Billy, and myself will be able to pull one up a rank or down a rank. So, JC, let's just use Sweet Chin Music. It's trash, let's just say. And you're like, absolutely not. I cannot live with myself if that's the case. You can pull it up one rank. You can't pull it from the bottom all the way to the top, but you can move it up a category. And then one that you think should be dropped down, you can do that at the end. And that will be the rules. Any questions?
You can't triple stamp a double stamp. Oh, what I mean by that is if I move one up, you can't then move it down. And I tried to do that last time, and Rossi called BS. So
yeah,
that is now. Two of us combine our forces to overrule the person's move up. He doesn't like that.
Don't do that. Don't bring any more controversy to this goddamn podcast.
We are the official podcast of controversy. I know that Change My Mind is the official podcast of like 90 things, so we can be that.
If you want to know where we're the official podcast of our other podcast friends' wives. That's what we really are. Wives love our podcast. They do. We are the official wife podcast. All right. How does this look on the visual? Does it look any good? Too close? Too distant?
I love it. I like it.
Okay.
I really kind of dig it.
Okay. So here's going to be the deal. I'm gonna start up. I'll say the finishing move. Then you guys can kind of say, okay, where do we think this thing kind of fits in this? So the four categories are Hall of Fame, main event, kick out at 2, and then jobber. You can kind of tier that as you feel. It's an ode to you, JC. So, all right, let's get into it. The first one on this list is bro kick. JC, I'll go to you. Where do you feel bro kick deserves to fit?
So this is the type of finisher that I like because it's effective and it can come out of nowhere. That's always a duo that I like to put together. So for me, I'm going to put it in main event because I think it's an upper tier finisher.
Bill, what about you?
You're not going to get a whole lot of argument from me out of main event. I do initially think kick out at 2, but Sheamus, obviously, great guy, great wrestler, one of the best movesets in the entire WWE, without question. When I did this in my head, when I picked which would go where, I kind of did a bunch of different things together. How good does a guy do it? How attainable is it for somebody to do? Can you do it on everybody? And then like another thing I did is like the guy who's doing it, like the cool factor behind him and how much you believe in him. And then finally, like the selling that the other person can do. So this is a main event level move, I would say.
Yeah, I don't really have much argument. I almost could make an odd argument for Hall of Fame, but there's so many we're going to get to, and I don't like giving too high of ratings on things. But the bro kick, I think JC said it really well. It looks good. It can come out of nowhere. It's super effective. It shouldn't be, and it's been relatively treated well in WWE lore. There's not a ton of like kickouts aside from when Sheamus had his main event run, especially over the last like 2 years or a year at least since he's returned. So we'll put that starting at main event. Up next, Seth Rollins. I don't know much others that used it. Curb stomp. Billy, we'll start with you on this one.
I'm going to go kick out at 2. It's a nice move. I don't think you can pull this off all of the time. You guys know my feelings with Seth Rollins, and JC's a little bit here with me on this one. He's vastly overrated. He's the Gordon Hayward of wrestling, if you will, or the Brad Stevens of wrestling, if you will, to get to my hot takes on basketball. But it doesn't really come out of nowhere. Even the thing he had against Randy Orton at WrestleMania, it was spectacular, but is that believable? No. So I think it's a kick out at 2.
Wait, real quick. Believable? We're going to have the believable argument? That was one of the most incredible finishes of a match, especially outdoor. The way that looked, that
you can't flick your head and send a guy flying in the air.
Are you Randy Orton? Have you seen the traps on that dude?
I have.
He's strong. All right, JC, where do you put it?
So this one for me was teetering between the middle two. As Billy said, I'm a Seth Rollins hater, even though I do love what he's doing right now, which is crazy. But so when I look at the curb stomp, this move is just downright disrespectful. Because can you think of something more disrespectful than curb stomping someone? So for me, that kind of puts it up a tier because I'm all about the disrespect and the fuck you. So main event is where I'd put it.
I was leaning towards kick out at 2. We'll put it to main event. I have no other argument for it. I think I like the move. Yes, it is vastly disrespectful, but we'll get into another one. This is kind of an old school as a finisher. You see a lot of modern wrestlers using it more as setup moves or off the ropes. It is the DDT. And for me, I'll start with this one. I find it to be one of the greatest finishers of all time. I think just the execution of it, especially early going back to Jake the Snake, all the way coming up to whatever name you want to call it at this point with Dean Ambrose, now John Moxley using it. I just find it to be a good looking DDT. Randy Orton does off a second rope. That looks cool. I'm not ready to call it a Hall of Famer, even though I really could make that argument. I realistically feel like this one's going to slip down the ranks, but I'm going to say main event. Bill, what about you?
Jobber. Total jobber move.
Whoa.
Any move that Dean Ambrose does is a jobber move. I like Jake the Snake Roberts, but this is where wrestling was in the 1980s. And funny story, Jake the Snake Roberts made this move by a mistake. He had a guy hooked to bring up for a suplex. He fell, and then the guy got hurt, so he pinned him 1, 2, 3, and that's how this move became a thing. It's a great move, but now it's been so overused that it's kind of like, it's a jobber move. It's done in the middle of matches now.
All right, JC, split the difference. What do you got?
So I don't agree with Billy just ripping on Moxley and Ambrose. That's not the reason why I have it where it is. But let's think about, especially in modern wrestling, what type of superstars use the DDT as finisher? They're jobbers. This is a jobber finish. And you said it right there. Randy Orton uses it as a setup move, so it can't definitely be in the top 2 tiers. It has to be in the bottom 2. And for me, especially when we're looking at a lot of the ones we're looking at today, it has to go in the jobber category for me.
Okay, 2 say jobber. We're going to lean it there. Maybe I'll save it later. All right, next up. This one was interesting. This one I almost took off the list, but I'm intrigued at what everyone thinks. I almost did because at 25, we could do this all day. This is Baron Corbin's. I don't think anybody else has used this as well. It's the End of Days. JC, we'll start with you.
So you know who's a big Baron Corbin guy?
You.
This guy. You know what move has never been kicked out of ever in WWE?
Ooh.
The End of Days. So how can this not be? You ready for this? Hall of Fame. It is the most legitimate finisher there is because no one's ever kicked out of it. It's indisputable. It's a pretty move. I remember when this guy debuted at NXT, and I'm like, who's this big oof with the goofy hair and the weird tummy? And then I saw the move. I was just like in awe. So you know what? Until someone kicks out of it, I don't think you can argue against it. Hall of Fame.
Baron Corbin is a stud of studs. He's a heel of heels. He's a king of kings, in my opinion. I love this man. And as JC said, this is one of the more protected moves they've ever had. And that's another factor you have to consider with finishers. Is it protected? No one has ever kicked out of this move. Not to mention all of his other moves, vicious. I love watching this guy perform. He can work with anybody. I'll put it right in that middle line between Hall of Famer and main event, and I'm going to make you make the tough call here, Rossi, on where it goes.
You're going to make it easy on me then because I'm putting it as main event. I just can't put a Baron Corbin move. With all due respect, I was a big-time Baron Corbin fan. I just feel like his character has just sucked everything into like this awkward middle card position. Not his fault, not the performer. But knowing that no one's ever kicked out of it is such an interesting fact. I just still can't put it to the Hall of Fame. And still, there's something that irks me about that being the final move ever done on Kurt Angle in his career. I loved it. I loved it.
That's how you make champions. That's how you
But it
make
hasn't
great
worked.
people.
It hasn't.
Well, because they left it up on the way out. But that's what Kurt Angle's job is when he comes back, is to put people like Baron Corbin over. And does he still do that ridiculous intro where he's the son of this Golden Glove boxers?
No.
Fucking awesome. I love it.
Now he just comes out in the freaking king thing getting carried out. I still love it. It is a little overdone. I agreed, but that win over Kurt Angle legitimized Corbin, and look at the feuds he had since. He became the SmackDown's top heel. Him and Roman Reigns had a long feud. Whether you liked it or not, it elevated him to that spot where he needed to be.
Yeah, I also just like Kurt Angle kind of crapped on him during the Stone Cold podcast. It was like, yeah, Baron Corbin's a good kid. I wish I had a better match. All right. Anywho, moving on. Next up, the F5. I think I'll start this one. This is an incredible move, incredibly vicious looking move. Another one that unfortunately has kind of died a little bit of its luster. They built it up to be the strongest move after Brock Lesnar regained the title at WrestleMania 33. He literally ran through everybody, just beating them with one F5, eventually to come against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 34, where he kicked out of, I feel like, 17 of them. The move, it was just a WrestleMania 2000 finishers move match, and so it's kind of diluted a little bit, but to me, it's still one of the best looking, especially for a guy like Brock Lesnar, how big and strong he is. It just looks vicious, dangerous. He just throws his opponents around. I want to say Hall of Fame here, but I'm going to put main event. JC, what about you?
Yeah, I'm with you. Main event. The F5 I've always loved because I love Lesnar. I think it's great, but I think every reason you brought up is why it can't be Hall of Fame, because it's been kicked out of too much at this point. It is a very good move, but there's something about it that just doesn't make it elite of elite for me.
Yeah, it's not super out of nowhere. He'll catch guy here and there. I think the reversals out of it have actually been a little bit more exciting over the years. It's a great move, not protected at all anymore, like not even a little bit. As you said, they kick out furiously out of it. And it's basically, I'm able to do this to, smaller people in pools, and I have video evidence of me being able to.
I bet.
Yeah, it's not that hard of a move to pull off. It is impressive when he does it to a huge guy like a Big Show or a Mark Henry. But yeah, it's a main event level. And obviously Brock Lesnar is a Hall of Famer, but I don't think this is one of those finishers you think about when you think about a huge crowd pop for hitting a finisher.
Yeah, I think if anything, it's an ooh, like, is he really about to win? And like the time against The Undertaker when he broke the streak, it was more like, he's going to kick out of this one because he already kicked out of two. But unfortunately, that did not happen. All right, coming up next is the 5-star frog splash. You can even just put frog splash if you would, but the way Rob Van Dam does it, more dangerous and vicious on the ribs. Billy, we'll start with you on this one.
I mean, there's a lot of great people who have done this over the years. Eddie Guerrero has a really good one. D'Lo Brown, the Sky, not the Sky, is the Sky Eye or the Lowdown? I forget which one it was. I think the Lowdown was the Powerbomb. Either way, it's a great move. The way RV does it, like where he dives a little bit angled, incredible. But to me, it's a kick out at 2 because typically RVD wasn't at the top of the card anyways all the time. He was kind of a mid-tier second card, right in that Intercontinental picture. A perfect kick out at 2. He will beat lower level guys, but he's never taken off, for lack of a better term, like a John Cena with this move, even though he may have at one point.
JC?
I'm going to agree with Billy with kick out at 2. I really like it. I think the flashability for this move is off the charts because it looks cool. It's fun. But for me, what brings it down is the effectability, because you do almost as much damage to yourself as you do to them, and you got to roll back into the cover. So I think that gives it a lot of options to kick out.
All right, I agree with you guys. It's nothing. I really can't add much more to it. I just love that you added this one because the frog splash is a great looking move. Obviously, Eddie Guerrero won his title off it. I believe Rob Van Dam did hit this to win the title against John Cena. I'm not confirmed. I know Edge interfered, but either way,
but
overall,
I think to JC's point where it hurts them just as much, RVD sold that every time. He would roll over before he pinned them, and that's the kind of stuff in wrestling that I really enjoy. Forgetting that you're watching something that's a dance and that you're watching an actual event.
Easy with your words. All right, next up, the only female finisher I believe on here, technically by, created by one, it is Beth Phoenix's Glam Slam. JC, we'll start with you.
So for me, I want to put this at main event, and it's because when Beth Phoenix brought this out, it is something we had never seen before in women's wrestling. It was true power, and then when she could do it to a man, it was like, okay, this is a true finisher. So I have to put it in main event.
Billy?
Didn't she have another name for this? Wasn't it the Implant Buster?
That might have been like for a very, very small window of time. It was the same thing. Like this is something Victoria did very shortly, but not with the impact of the slam. Victoria just kind of dropped the opponent down.
I mean, Beth Phoenix is, I'm super jealous of Edge. She's one of those beautiful, thick ladies that I like. I would give it, right in that area of like that midline of kick out to a main event. There's a lot of, I know this is the only female finisher, so I'll just get my honorable mentions out of the way. There's some great ones. The Eclipse by Ember Moon.
Love it.
I mean, if you haven't seen it, she's not at that level yet where it's kind of been established. But if you don't know what it is, that was in the hype video for this podcast, go check it out. But I think, I would say 75% main event for me.
So it really is tough being the only female finisher on here. Obviously, we didn't, another finisher that's a spoiler will not be on here is like an elbow drop, which I thought Kairi Sane kind of made just look incredible for a female finisher.
Hers is a Hall of Fame. Everybody else is like CM Punk's is, and I know it's not his finisher, but he gives the worst one ever, and that's all I'll tell you that.
Oh, and Macho Man, like that's awesome. It was just there's a lot of good moves out there that we didn't reach that level, but this one, maybe I'm being biased, maybe I'm being a little sexist, but you're right. This changed the game for female finishers. Also, to JC's point, like this was at a time when women wrestling was like 5 minutes, go grab a drink, like if you're there, or if it's a let me down semi-main event just because you just saw their other co-main event. But she made legitimacy out of that women's division, or the best she could in the very early stages of when women's wrestling started to teeter back towards legitimacy. So I'll give it the Hall of Fame nod as well. So we'll put it up there for now. Bill, you can decide to move that later if you will. So next up is, you mentioned the man, CM Punk. It's the go to sleep. I'll start with this one. I have a tough time because I don't necessarily love the finish, but I love everything about it, if that makes any sense. I love the setup. I like that it was CM Punk's finisher because when you look at him, his body type, aside from submissions, like what other moves can he do that really like could make you believe he's about to win the match against a bigger opponent? And I think that was executed well. I think overall it's one of those ones that we've seen just not used well since he's departed. I know it was Hideo Itami, Kenta's finisher in New Japan. He kind of brought it out in WWE for a little while, was getting kicked out of. So unfortunately, I'm going to put this one down to the kick out at 2. What do you say, JC?
I'm right on the line of main event and kick out at 2, but I'd probably lean closer to kick out at 2. Don't have much to add on this one, but from what you said, because I know exactly what you're saying, where you don't really love the move, but you love the idea of the move and what happens with it. Like I love the knee part, but it does need a little bit of setup. And it's one of those moves where he can't, like a guy like CM Punk couldn't always do it on everyone. So that always makes it a little tough for me.
Don't love it. I would actually go all the way to Jobber because 1, he stole it. 2, as I said before with the elbow drop, he doesn't really execute. He executes everything so beautifully in the ring. One of the greatest wrestlers of all time, except when he's doing the elbow drop and this. I don't believe that this finisher knocks people out, especially the way he gives it. It's like when John Cena puts people on the STFU, where he's like not even really holding on to them. He sometimes just goes through the motion of it. So I don't really love this move. I thought CM Punk could have had something, maybe like the Daniel Bryan running knee would have been a little more effective for him with his background in, martial arts and all that stuff. So I'm going to give it Jobber. So maybe we put it at kick out at 2.
We'll sit at kick out at 2. So the next one is, I don't think anybody did it better, so I guess I would call it Goldberg's jackhammer. JC?
So this is a move that you can say what you want about Goldberg, but this move is devastating. It looks devastating. It's a sight to behold. He literally did to everyone, even the big guys. So for me, I think that makes it main event.
Bill, what do you say?
Easy main eventer. I mean, you go back and watch the DDP video about him describing how he wrestled. He had to wrestle around how bad of a performer Goldberg was, but he did everything at 150%. He would get people up, and then he'd let them go sometimes and catch them if they were small enough and fucking slam them. It was an impressive-ass move. Every time he did it, it was a spectacle. He did it to, the Giant at the time. He did it for Kevin Nash. I mean, he is just a physical freak. So I think it's easy main eventer. If it was a little more out of nowhere, it would be Hall of Fame.
See, to me, I think I wouldn't want this to be out of nowhere because I think Goldberg, the way his character and everything set up, like the spear was that awesome setup move. You knew what was coming. I'd argue this could be Hall of Fame outside of, and it's so hard, and I don't want this to be the case, but that Undertaker near-death experience out of the jackhammer, I don't think we're going to see, we did see it against Dolph Ziggler at SummerSlam like 8 times. He speared him like through his shorts. If you're ever in trouble, get Dolph in the ring to save somebody from embarrassing themselves, but I think that is the only reason. So I guess for now, I'm not going to make the argument. You both kind of put it there, but I could make the argument for Hall of Fame. Maybe I'll think about it as we get later. So it will fit nicely into the main event. So far, we're in this a tier list here on the Pop Culture Pile Driver. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. We got JC of the Jobber Knocker. Make sure you subscribe to their podcast. So up next, a very interesting one, and I'll go to JC again to start on this one. It's Big Show's KO Punch.
Well,
I hate this move, man. And the only reason why like I'm hesitant to just throw it in Jobber is because I love Lacey Evans doing it with the women's right, because I think it works a lot better. But when Big Show busted this out, it's like, man, you got so many other moves that are fine. Why do you need this? So I'm probably putting it in kick out at 2, but if you guys want to put it in Jobber, you ain't getting a fight from me.
I mean,
go ahead, Bill.
take a drink. It's a Jobber Knocker type move, 100%. It's the dumbest move ever. When he had the greatest choke slam going, where he could literally put you about 10 feet in the air, and then he would do like the slow turn on really small guys that could post on his arm and just kind of like slowly slam him to the ground. And then he went to a punch. I get it. His hands are the size of fucking frying pans. It would hurt, but it's wrestling. Again, I want the dance. I want a little bit more than just like, boom. And didn't Floyd Mayweather beat him? So like that's ridiculous in itself. Like that, it's just mind-boggling that this was his finish. This has Vince to me written all over it. We're gonna take the choke slam, the most devastating move you could do to somebody, and just give you a punch.
Just so you know, Bill, that's where this move came from, was that Floyd Mayweather feud. Mm-hmm. But this is one of the more pathetic moves I think that they created for somebody. I agree with you on Lacey Evans. I think it's a different scenario because Lacey Evans looks kind of like she's early in her development of her career.
Have you seen her back? She's jacked out of her mind.
She's a Marine, man.
And it's a great name. It makes sense. A woman's right. That's hilarious. It works. It's a great
fitting.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And like I said, she's still developing. For a little while, we thought she was going to go with that, 180 moonsault as her finisher. That's kind of just part of the move repertoire. She's still within the first 3 years of her main event run. She can make adjustments. Big Show had one of the best choke slams, not just because how tall. The best part was he did almost this like kind of spin, almost like a 70-degree spin where he took the momentum and slammed them down. Devastating looking choke slam for a finisher. Then he comes out, 15, almost 20 years into his career, just punching people in the face that he could do at any time and just, I don't know, it chooses not to. That just killed it for me. Never liked it.
It's illegal. You're not allowed to use a closed fist in professional wrestling.
Well, different strokes, different folks. WWE doesn't know rules until they decide to create them. AEW's trying to keep that alive. But yeah, I'm putting that at Jobber. I don't think, we're keeping it there for now.
How many times in the course of your watching wrestling, and we've all at this point watched over probably 10,000 hours, where you see the ref go, like he taps his hand and goes, what, come on, no closed fists. And that's his finisher. That's a disqualification.
And Bill, you know what else they brought back recently is that if you're not the tag team partner and you hit someone in the ring, that's now a DQ again. That's straight up 1989. I haven't seen that.
That's like before. That's like 1982.
It's WWE's pulled it out twice in the last 2 months.
Do you have to hold the rope when you do the tag?
No, that's the thing. That's where you get disqualified if you're not holding the little rope. Anywho, all right, let's go to our next one. This one is going to be interesting. The Hulk Hogan, I guess you call it atomic leg drop. Bill, we'll start with you.
Jobber. I mean, this is one of the worst. I mean, again, I could bump it up to kick out at 2. I mean, obviously this guy, Mount Rushmore, number 1, and it's fitting that Mount Rushmore is a little controversial now, and Hulk Hogan's a little controversial now, obviously. But this is the worst move ever. It's legit a leg drop, and he did it so much in the 80s. He has back problems because you fall straight on your ass. I mean, just think, like if somebody dropped a leg on me, the Yokozuna leg drop was amazing, but that was just like a setup move. But his leg probably weighed around 150 pounds. Hulk Hogan, maybe 50. And you could clearly see, even as a child, I knew that that little the bend of the knee was never hitting the face. It was never believable. And this was the arguably at the time greatest wrestler ever. This was his finisher.
JC, what do you say?
Yeah, I'd probably put it in Jobber. You could convince me to throw it in a kick out at 2, but I've never been a fan of this move.
Yeah, it's a move that was before the time. Talk about nothing that ever got kicked out of. This was very few and far between. I think the only time I can think of was Sid Vicious in WrestleMania 8 because Papa Shango missed his cue, so he had to kick out, and what a mess of a situation that was. But outside of the protection of it, it's just not. It ain't. Ultimate Warrior might have kicked out actually as well. But either way, it ain't it. Is wrestling developed even in the late 80s? It started to look a little foolish. So Hulk Hogan, maybe the biggest known finisher and wrestler of all time, going into the jobber category.
Just quickly.
Please.
Think about WrestleMania 3 where he fought Andre the Giant. He picked him up and slammed him. The first person besides, Kamala, which they never televised, to slam him in a ring. I'm sure other people did it too. And then he finishes it off with a leg drop. It's like, you just slammed a 500-pound man. That should be, that's the job right there.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of meat coming to the ground. All right, up next, our tag team finisher, the Doomsday Device from the Legion of Doom. JC, where do you think this one should land?
Much like with the Glam Slam, since this is probably arguably the best tag team finish of all time, I'd put it in main event, but you convinced me to drop it down if you really wanted to.
No, I don't want to convince you. I want you to stand strong.
I'll put it in main event, but this is one of those it's kind of teetering, so I'm going to pick my battles with some of these. This isn't one I'm going to fight you with.
There you go, Bill. What about you?
I'd go Hall of Fame. I think this is a phenomenal move. I think the way they execute it, Legion of Doom kind of changed the game. It was, an aerial type setup move. I know it doesn't come out of nowhere, but these guys were absolute monsters. They could pretty much do it to anybody they wanted anyways. And sometimes you'd get that extra flip, so it would look spectacular. I'm okay with main event or Hall of Fame, but I would say besides one other, tag team finisher, this is it for tag team finishers.
Yeah, I think this is the only one that's going to be on our list today, so it would be the other one you're speaking of.
The Dudley Death Drop, I think, is just a phenomenal, like the way they get him in a precarious position and then they hit him with the diamond cut / stunner move. That to me is it. So if that's not going to be on this list, I'll put this in main event.
So it's funny. I had it like like I said, we could have done a million.
It's 2 minutes.
We can come back to it. This could be something we come all again with 25 different. But anyways, I tend to agree more towards Bill. I think this actually could be a Hall of Fame because it is vicious. It looks dangerous. I know you guys kind of land on like the out of nowhere aspect of things. I don't like that. I like when a finisher is like set up because that's it. Like the match is done. You see it coming. We're over. And this one murdered a man almost. And also real quick, RIP to Road Warrior Animal and Hawk. They're doomsday devising many wrestlers from the 80s up in heaven right now. So you both said main event. I won Hall of Fame. So we'll put in the main event for now, the Doomsday Device. All right, up next, this is another one. I'm really intrigued by what you guys have to say, but I'm going to start it. It's The Rock's People's Elbow. Hate it. I love the setup, love the dance, love the theatrics. Just hated whenever this was the final move. The Rock Bottom was the finisher, but so many times I had to go back. I watched so many clips.
No,
today.
this is finished a lot of matches.
That's my point. And I hate it. I'm like, wait, really? Like when I watched, I think it happened here in Boston when he won the title at King of the Ring 2000.
He finished CM Punk with it on his long run.
That's another one I was just about to say, and it makes me nauseous. It's like, no, the Rock Bottom is the devastating move. An elbow that you dance around. No, it's like the worm to me. To me, honestly, it's a jobber finish.
I'm going to go Hall of Fame, number 1 with a bullet, because it's all about the sell. This guy, to quote Tommy Boy, a movie you gave a perfect 11 to,
don't bring it up.
Sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. It's all about the spectacle. I'm there for the spectacle. And as you saw in the video, if you watched it that I made for this thing, and Mac from Mac and Goop pointed it out in one of our chats, the way he slides into it sometimes, especially when he was wearing the dress shoe, it's all about showmanship. And clearly the highest paid movie star now in the world, I think, 3 years running, is The Rock. This move is the most electrifying move in sports entertainment. I fucking love it. I would eat it up. It had suspense. It had build. The way he hopped over.
What suspense? You know what was happening.
And it's a standard elbow drop. It's like the leg drop, but he sells it like a friggin' carnival barker. And that's what they are. And that's why I love this. Love it.
So this is a tough one for me because first instinct, I was like, jobber. Billy obviously makes a great case. But I will say, for The Rock being one of the greatest of all time, his finishing moves, dog shit, like, in theory. He just obviously sells them. So I'm not putting it Hall of Fame. I don't even think I could do main event, but I guess I could put it kick out at 2. So good luck figuring out where you actually want to put this.
They have to be kick out at 2. I'm just going to split the difference for now. That's just, The Rock, like, I love The Rock. One of the best performers in the ring. His finishes, like JC said, trash, just trash. Oh my gosh. All right. So up next is, you couldn't have a list of tier moves on the pop culture pile driver without the ladder of the name, the pile driver. JC, where do you put this one?
Well, no disrespect to your name, but I'd put this at kick out at 2. It's a good move, but this is I think a lot more of a setup move than a finishing move for me.
Bill?
I mean, to quote the great Pete Rose, how about a pile driver? It's a great move. I think the only one who delivered it where it looked as vicious as it should be, besides rest his soul and almost paralyzing Steve Austin, like it was like a reverse tombstone pile driver. It's a little bit less. It's kind of like the DDT now. It's and you can't even really do it anymore, right? It's been outlawed.
Banned.
So I think it's a kick out at 2 now because it's become, just everybody does it on the indie scenes. They do all sorts of jumping ones now and all crazy stuff. So it's become a little bit overrun, but it's still in its day. When you saw it for the first time, it's like, wow, that could fucking kill a guy. And it almost killed Stone Cold.
It almost did. The last time we saw it in a major way, realistically, was CM Punk versus John Cena in the cash-in on Raw 1000. I believe that was that match. Or that might have been the match to go to WrestleMania. Either way, it was a Raw match.
Cena might have broke it out with AJ Styles in one of those matches, too.
Don't recall, but
they
either
busted
way.
out everything in those, so I think so.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I remember being like, oh, shit. I think it was the SummerSlam with the Royal Rumble where I was just like, my God. And that was, that's an actual 5-star match.
The one thing I always get the name wrong. What is it called? What's the move that they that Adam Cole's one of her off finishers, like the California Sunrise? What do I always get that?
Oh, the jumping one of these?
Yeah, no, I don't get how those moves are able to be done, but like a straight pile driver, those ones are much more dangerous looking to me. But nonetheless, I really can't argue against this one being a kick out at 2. It's become a move that's banned, and when it was being used, like Mick Foley had a good one because he held the shorts when he was Mankind to pull him down, but never was a finisher. I don't even know anybody maybe since like the 70s that actually used it as a finisher. So I guess we'll let land a kick out at 2 for now. Up next, we have the power bomb. And this one could be from any power bomb you want. Diesel always, to me, looked the most ridiculous. And as I've listened to most podcasts now, nobody wanted to take Diesels or Psycho Sid, because Diesel just let you go when you were in the air. There's a famous Bob Backlund story that he said, yeah, I'm not taking that. He took it the one time in Madison Square Garden. He was like, I'm never taking that again. So I'll start with you, JC. Where do you rank the power bomb?
I love the power bomb. I've always been a fan of the power bomb. But for me, when I look at this, especially with some of the, like a lot of guys use it. There's obviously been the main event guys. I love the KO version too, the pop-up power bomb. I think there's a million ways to do it, but it's a lot of those like fringe heavyweight guys that really use it as a finish. So for me, I kind of lean to put it kick out at 2, but I want to put it in main event. I just don't know if I can do it.
Bill?
Yeah, so like Sami Zayn, the Blue Thunder one, I love. But it's not his finisher. It's a setup. That should be his finisher. The Razor's Edge, kind of slow when plotting.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there. So don't. Different move. Similar
type of move, though. KO, if he had kept the pop-up powerbomb, which he could do to almost anybody because he's a big dude. I at one point was tending towards his size, and I've kind of dialed back a little under 200 at this point.
You were not tending towards his size.
I was tipping the scales at 205 like 5 years ago.
Kevin Owens is over 300 pounds.
Yeah, but he's also probably 6 something. I'm like barely 5'10". I'm 5'9", really, if we're being honest. If we're not going to check my dating site height. But I think if he kept that, it would be good. But I'm going to go kick out at 2 just because now everybody uses a powerbomb.
Yeah, we mentioned it. Like, I really was a big fan of the last ride when the Undertaker used it. Just adding that extension of like pulling the tights up just looked really great. Looked a little more vicious. Batista made the power bomb, except for the one time Booker T had a power bomb himself at SummerSlam 2004.
Used him like a pommel horse.
Yeah, it was bad, but he always made it look vicious. Right now, you have a guy like Keith Lee using the Spirit Bomb, which looks awesome. He like throws the guy into the air, catches him, and slams him down. You mentioned KO. We talked about Diesel's jackknife, which is he basically tried to kill people on a weekly basis. Sid Vicious. It had a really good run, but I think you guys kind of nailed it at the end of the day. It's a kick out at 2 because nobody really uses it as a finish. Even KO in his run, a lot of people were kicking out of it. That became his finisher during the kick out era, especially of NXT. So I'll let it land right now. A kick out at 2.
And you mentioned the Bob Backlund thing real quick and how it was dangerous. And that's the other thing about Big Show. He's a gentle giant. When he delivered that vicious choke slam, everybody said it was, he knew how to do it.
He's a professional. Diesel was just a jackass. It was just literally tossing people when he got him up there. And up next, you mentioned it, Bill, so we'll start with you. The Razor's Edge.
It's fine. I went back and watched it. It was one of the finishing moves I was actually going to put into the montage, and it was too slow moving for a montage. And as a guy who cuts montages like JC, I mean, you probably have two of the best editors. I'll say at least in New England here.
Appreciate it.
But like, it's too slow of a move to cut to a montage because he just kind of goes down slowly, and at the end he kind of ramps it up a little bit. But I think this is kind of I mean, you need to be a big guy. Scott Hall is a monster, especially when you saw him as the Cowboy way back in the day. He was one of the biggest guys fucking ever, built like a brick shithouse. But I would give this kick out at 2, maybe even a jobber.
Wow.
JC, what do you say?
So I believe Sheamus, this is also his finisher. I think he called it the Celtic Cross. But
Correct.
Again, Billy kind of hit on it with the slow moving part. I want to put this in main event because, it's Razor's Edge, man. Come on. It's like cool, it's just want to put sunglasses on. It's like, you're cool, man. But I tend to agree. I think it will end up a kick out at 2, and that's probably where it belongs.
All right, I don't really have an argument to get out of it. I don't see. I think we definitely have interesting takes here because I don't mind these slower or setups, but at the end of the day, it just doesn't look as vicious on a consistent basis. Love that you mentioned that it's part of Sheamus's repertoire. I feel like we could do a whole tier list just on Sheamus's moves.
Oh, yeah.
Best move set in the game.
He really is.
Noise, baby, let's go.
Seriously, you got the Celtic Cross, you got the Celtic. What's the finish? What's his
Cloverleaf?
Cloverleaf. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's right up there with Triple H as some of the best like move sets that there's ever been.
And that's why him and The Undertaker all have interesting matches, because sometimes they can finish it with not their finisher and one of their finishers. And you know what I'm talking about if you're a wrestling fan.
Kind of. All right. So up next, this is going to be, I think, an interesting one. This fits all the things you men have mentioned this entire time. JC and Billy have been saying, I like things when they come out of nowhere. I like this when it comes out of nowhere. Well, there's no move that's been hashtagged more with out of nowhere than the RKO. So JC, where do you place this one?
This is Hall of Fame. This is, if you really put a gun to my head and maybe name my favorite finish of all time, I think I'd probably say the RKO. Because this also can give you what you like too, Rossi. You can set this up slowly with his maniacal and his arms and everything. Or because Randy Orton is just so freaking good. So why would his finisher not be the most versatile finisher there is? So for me, without a doubt, this is the epitome of a Hall of Fame finish.
Bill?
I love this. It's a Hall of Famer, no doubt. It's a GOAT. First ballot. I mean, RKOing the internet. Everything that Randy Orton does just is perfect. He slinks around like a snake. He's no wasted movements. As JC said, it can come out of nowhere or he can set it up by slamming his fists. I think Nessel once told a story one time where he broke like a knuckle trying to do that, so now he doesn't do it as hard. But everything about this finish is magical. I think the best one ever, my favorite one, is when he hits Hulk Hogan on the car.
Oh, my God. What a feud.
And he does it to his family. His wife does it to him. His kids do it to him. He does it to his kids in the pool.
Who doesn't do it in the pool themselves? Hang out with your friend.
It's unreal.
I'd take RKO from anyone.
It's the safest move to take, especially if you're diving into a pool. But with that being said, I think what you're talking about, that Nessel move, that might have been how he ended up with twins, but that's a story for another time, you can tell. But I would say here that you guys are right. You nailed it. It is a Hall of Fame. It is, I would say, the most popular and most viral move that wrestling's ever had. And it's crazy because there's some big ones we're going to get to, but when you were a kid, there was a different move you did all the time and you mess around with your friends. But when it comes to the modern era, I know people that I say, oh, I'm a wrestling fan. They'll say, oh, RKO. And I'm like, how does that wrestling and then the letters RKO come to be? And now I love how Randy Orton has turned it into the most devastating 3 letters in wrestling. It's that's an excellent way to term it because it is one of the more popular things. So it is going in there at the Hall of Fame, and I don't think that one's getting a budge.
And every professional wrestling franchise besides the WWE has pretty much been a 3-letter entity, and RKO is arguably it's more popular than 90% of any wrestling promotion that's ever lived.
That's actually a very good point. All right, next up is the running power slam, made quote-unquote famous from the British Bulldog to Braun Strowman, now currently using it. Billy, what do you think of this one?
This is the ultimate jobber move. And when I saw that this was his finish, I was furious. In fact, I think I was at JC's apartment when he debuted as Solo Braun, and he came out with a roar. And I was like, what is this? And I slowly bought into it, but he has the worst fucking finisher. It looks so safe, and he's probably a very good wrestler and keeps it safe for the guys, but the way he tucks them in and just gently puts them down, I'm like, come on, this guy is devastating. He had that reverse choke slam for a little while that I fucking loved. It's like spiking somebody the wrong way. It was like a Gronk spike. I loved that. So this is jobber all the way.
That made James Ellsworth famous right there. JC, what do you think of this one?
I think it's on the fringe of kick out at 2 and jobber, because there is the one thing where if Braun Strowman did this to me, it actually landed his weight on me, I'm dead. Like I'm a pancake. But Billy's right. He puts him down gently, which is what you want him to do. So I don't have an argument against jobber, but I'd probably lean kick out at 2.
Yeah, I'm going to have to put it at jobber. I just think just stacking the lines here. And even to go back to British Bulldog, he actually made it look real good for a little while. I don't think people really associate it very much, or him really having a finisher. But it's the Braun Strowman side of it is like there's the two sides. Bill, you mentioned the reverse chokeslam, which I wish he just still used as part of his moveset. And I think Braun Strowman's become such a good wrestler and such a, like the look, everything about him, it's all starting to come into place. It's had its ups and downs, but like that is his finisher, just doesn't do it, especially where it's kind of just like he picks him up. It only takes like 2 steps. It doesn't like he runs from the corner over. It's not overly devastating looking, but 100% with JC. If he puts me in, I'm a pancake. There's a lot of blubber that's getting poured out of my sides. But at the end of the day, we'll land it in as jobber.
There are ways to sell moves like that to make it look more devastating, and I don't think he puts in the effort. Like the British Bulldog used to let go and then kind of make it look like he whipped him to the ground. Braun Strowman literally, and kudos to him for being safe, but just kind of like gently cradles them to the ground, and it doesn't look devastating.
Yeah, no bigger one that he did than against Goldberg at WrestleMania. That was just like he almost like I feel like he held his head. He looked like me trying to put my baby to bed. It was like the softest thing I've ever seen. All right, we're coming down to the nitty gritty here. The sharpshooter. JC, what do you think of this one?
Oh, you want to start with me on this one?
Fortunately, I do.
So I'm a submission shamer because you know what doesn't get me excited? A good submission. The sharpshooter is good, and obviously it's made famous by one of I know a lot of people's favorites of all time, including my tag team partner, WrestleMania. So for me, it's hard for me to I like you guys are going to want to put in Hall of Fame or main event. It's going to be hard for me to argue against it. But for me, it's all submission finishes. Put him in fucking jobber because it's boring, man. I like the flashiness. I like the excitement. And the sharpshooter doesn't do it for me. Sorry.
Jobber all the way.
What?
And Bret Hart is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And now I'm going to go against the JC and Nestle version here. Every time he won a big match, except maybe Yokozuna, it was always a roll-up, some kind of weird finish. He never won with the sharpshooter really, really big matches. And that's why I loved Bret Hart, because you never knew how the match was going to end. It wasn't always the sharpshooter. He had the 5 moves of doom with the jobbers on the weekends, but for the most part, he was getting somebody in a sleeper hold. Like somebody got him in a sleeper hold. He reversed it, flipped him over, pinned him 1, 2, 3. That's why I love Bret Hart. To me, submissions, unless it's like a Sasha Banks one where she hits you with the backcracker
the double,
and then put you in the bank statement, that to me looks vicious. This is slow and plotting, and I know we don't have the figure 4 on here, but like that to me has been reversed. Ric Flair never won a big match with that either. So to me, unless it's like followed by a move, like it's right before a big move and then into a submission, I don't like submissions.
All right, you guys are both clearly insane, but that's fine. I can't. I'll be just ringing up my pull up here. This is insane to me. It's not only an awesome finisher. Bill, you say he never won big matches. I don't know. Have you ever heard of the match against Mr. Perfect when it put him on the map to win the IC title at WrestleMania 1991?
Title, okay, so it's not main event.
It's still that was the big win. That was the signature win for Bret Hart. That's what put this man on the tier to come up. That was the move. I agree. All of his matches have screwy finishes. It really doesn't make any sense.
He was the original wacky roll-up guy.
He was also the guy who won the goddamn title because freaking Yokozuna slipped on a banana peel on the second rope. Stupidest finish of the history of wrestling. But nonetheless, I got no argument. I'm just pissed off at the both of you for disrespecting not Bret Hart, the Hart legacy, this finishing move. My God, it was. I couldn't believe it. But
2 of my favorite wrestlers ever, CM Punk and Bret Hart, have finishes, but like the rest of their moves and repertoire and the way they carried themselves, Hall of Fame level, their finishing moves lack a lot.
But you like The Rock's goddamn at people's elbow
because he sold the fuck out of it. Like that got me. He just danced. No, everybody.
To Billy's defense, that move is at least flashy. There's nothing flashy about a submission. The only submission that I really would get excited for some reason, I always like the crossface. I'd put that low too, but that was the one. Like just watching some guys nose get wrenched, especially like when Benoit did it. That's the only one for me that I kind of enjoy.
I will say
all these figure 4, doesn't do it.
Besides any of the the moves that we're saving the big ones, I think for late. But the other moves that we're getting to, I put more people in this move than anything else. And guess what? Doesn't really hurt, especially like I once reversed a figure 4 on somebody. It's one of the highlights of literally my life. I once hooked a guy, got him into a pin. And that's why I love a roll-up, because I actually was able to hold him down for a long time in a roll-up. And I just don't like the submission finishes. I just don't.
I'm just curious for JC on this one, because I think this is one that actually excites me. What about the Oscar lock? What do you think of the Oscar lock?
She hits it out of nowhere a lot of times.
I didn't ask Billy.
I like Asuka, but there's just something about her. There's not as always the excitement there, especially at the end of her matches.
Okay. All right. Up next is the Shooting Star Press. I think the most famous one is when Brock Lesnar almost paralyzed himself at WrestleMania 19, but not necessarily the move you're looking for. Evan Bourne made this thing look good recently. Matt Sydal making an appearance at AEW, slipping on a rope, not looking so hot there either. But what do you guys think of this one? Billy, we'll start with you.
Kick out at 2. It's a great move. It's showy, but no main eventer has really ever had this move, mainly because main eventers are bigger dudes, and you just mentioned Brock Lesnar almost killing himself doing it, but it's like a Billy Kidman lower type of level guy. So typically they're not winning big matches unless it's a guy that's a little lower on the totem pole than them.
JC?
Yeah, so this is definitely this is like the anti-submission. It's flashy, like it's like the ooh, looking at it, but it's a kick out at 2, because if one of these guys who's like a star of the mid card does this to a main eventer, they're kicking out. So it belongs right there in that kick out at 2 category.
All right. I have no argument on either one of those. I agree. It's never been, not that I want a main eventer necessarily, but you could see like, Neville, now Pac, he uses the black arrow, red arrow. That's an insanely attractive and great looking move. 5-star. Yeah. You mentioned Billy Kidman. Like we're talking about Billy Kidman here. So I think that kind of sums it up. Next up is, I'm interested in your guys' takes on this. The spear. JC, we'll start with you.
So this one's tough, obviously, because everyone uses a spear. It's been used as a setup. It's used by some of like the biggest stars as their finish. So it's one of those that's really hard to grade. But the one thing about it is, it has that come out of nowhere. You can also set it up. So it does have that nice mix. So for me, I'd probably put it in main event, but I think this one could be all over the map.
Yeah. Bill, you want to go? You want me to go?
Billy hates it.
I gotta go kick it. I do. I gotta go kick out at 2 here, because other than because you really need the other guy to be a willing participant, and DDP said it again in that thing, and I would encourage everybody to go find it. Him talking about wrestling Goldberg, you kind of got to go like a napkin here and let the guy take you and slam you. And a lot of the times they don't. It doesn't look as realistic as it should if somebody really came at that full speed and hit you. Roman Reigns delivers a pretty good spear. Edges, it's all about the participant. Goldberg's, it's like a setup move. It's a finishing move. What is it? It's a kick out at 2.
Yeah, I would even argue it's a jobber. Even though I understand it's used by some of the biggest people, I actually really like how Charlotte uses it, but I also think it's because what Billy said, the women who she's in the ring with sell it so well, they like fold. I never liked it for Edge. I actually hated it at some points for Edge. I just don't look at him and be like, oh, he's going to tackle you and that's going to be it. Never did it for me. Totally understand the move, the popularity. Roman Reigns kind of lifted it back up a little bit. It was a setup move for Goldberg for years till they were scared to let him do the jackhammer on some people. So I guess we'll have to put it. JC, where did you say again? Did you say teeter on main event?
I put it in main event, but I think kick out at 2 is the right place for it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of sums up where we put that one. All right. So we're down to the finals here. Here's a big one. The Stunner. Billy, what do you think? You're wearing the shirt.
So it would be a main event if it was delivered by anybody else but Stone Cold. And you also have to take account the people selling it. So on its own, and I hate the kick he does, half of the time the kick he does to set it up is half-hearted and doesn't come anywhere near them, but it's Stone Cold. The roof blows off anytime he does it. The Shane sell of it, the Rock sell of it every single time, Scott Hall sell of it. To me, this is the move of all moves. I once had a kid come into my English class. I didn't know him. He was in an older grade. I was in 9th grade. He came in and stunned the fucking professor in a leather vest with nothing on underneath it. The professor didn't sell it, but he got furious and kicked him out. But that's how legendary this move was. I mean, it was everywhere. Everybody tried to do it. Everybody did it to their friends. And I would sell it. Like, if you did this to me at a wedding on the dance floor, I would sell this like The Rock. I'd be kicking everywhere.
JC, I don't really know what to say about that teacher situation. I have so many questions, but I'm just not going to ask them. JC, what do you say?
So if the RKO is 1A for me, this is 1B. And it is like 90% because of Stone Cold, but it's just such a fun move. Again, you can kind of set it up, or you can just do it out of nowhere. So I think it's just another one of those versatile moves. It's obviously when people talk about wrestling, it's one of the first things to come up. So for me, it has to be Hall of Fame. I don't think there's much debate about it. I do agree with everything Billy said, but it's Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there's not much more to say. The sells are great. I don't care as much about the kick. I don't care about how he executed it early when he used to just grab necks. Looked like he was literally trying to break people's chins. Awesome move. Everything about it. It is the most popular, I think, move of all time when it comes to wrestling. People know it, and it just rolled so well. Stone Cold Stunner. Not a big fan, to be honest, of Kevin Owens using it. Besides the point, it's a Hall of Famer. All right, up next, Shawn Michaels, Sweet Chin Music. Don't discount super kicks. JC, what do you think?
So Shawn Michaels is, I think, the greatest of all time. I love, unless if I go with Randy Orton. We'll see. He's not done yet, so I have time to decide on that take. But the Sweet Chin Music, like, is my childhood. Like, watching those matches, waiting for it when he starts dialing it up. It was just like, I want it. But here comes the problem. It's the super kick. And the super kick is probably the most overused move in wrestling. I mean, the Young Bucks, literally, they made a party out of it where they do 30 a match. So as like Shawn Michaels' version, sure, you can put it in the Hall of Fame, but if the super kick, I think, drags it down to main event for me.
Bill?
At one point, I mean, and this is my favorite, number one, as JR would say, with a bullet, tuning up the band. Everything that he does to create this is great, but it's been the least protected move in all of wrestling. I know everybody else does it. There's so many moves. Like there's a super kick party, as JC said. So the way he does it, the way he delivers it. I mean, I came out to this song at my wedding. Didn't end well there, but it's a
you
great.
Kicked out at two, Bill. You kicked out at two.
It's a great move. But I thought I was going to be the only one here. It's a main event move now, maybe even a little bit lower, but it has to be main event because the way Shawn Michaels delivers it. But it's just everyone does it. It's the least protected move in the world, so it kind of has lost its luster over the year. And me and Nestle of the Jobber Knocker podcast, Take a Drink, that used to be our old thing, would do this in the hallways all the time. I'd give him a super kick. He'd give me one. We always said we were going to do one in the back of a news hit if anyone ever quit, and he'd be holding a bunch of papers, and like I'd just kick him in the face, and he'd throw the papers up in the air. It's a fun move to deliver. When he hit that guy in the hallway, Doug, like I just kicked Doug, or whatever the hell it was. It's a great move, but it's overused.
Yeah, it really has died a slow death. It's the definition of kick out at two. Like in reality, I think it's a main event based on, you mentioned Shawn Michaels making it like such a credible move. It is unfortunate because I think Dolph Ziggler won with it like randomly on a Raw last year in the lead up to SummerSlam. And it was the first time, there was some stat I saw on like Wrestling Info. That was the first time a super kick in a singles match ended like a match in like 15 years, something crazy like that. And you mentioned all the tag teams from the Usos. Like everybody has one. There's several women that use super kicks just out of nowhere, and they don't always look good either. That's the other thing. A super kick can look real bad at times, but I think we can settle this one at a main event based on Shawn Michaels and his legacy.
I think DIY used it as their finisher for a little while in like the tag team realms as well. So, and it created the biggest like disappointment in my life at WrestleMania 12 when I was a child, when he hit the super kick and pinned him out of nowhere. I was devastated as a child, but he became one of my favorite wrestlers, but it's just overused.
Piece of shit. All right, so down to the final two here. This one, we talked about protection for a long time till the very end. The Tombstone Pile Driver from The Undertaker - Kane. Billy?
It's main event. It's tough not to give it main event because the way The Undertaker did it, for a while, it was the most protective move. I mean, Undertaker was probably the most protected superstar ever for a while. So it's hard not to give it at least main event.
JC?
I'm putting this in Hall of Fame because when I look at this move, to flip someone over and drop them on their head and pretty much break their neck, you don't get much better than that in terms of like believability and just in terms of effectiveness. Like that literally knocks someone out because you're just crunching their head on the mat. So for me, I would argue I'd put this in the Hall of Fame. We don't see it used as much anymore, which I think helps it kind of gain its luster back, because I agree by the end there it kind of did lose it, but I think it's kind of got that back now that it's not used as much.
I agree. I put it in Hall of Fame as well. So we put the two of us putting it up there because you mentioned it. Yeah. And you know what the other thing was? When it was kicked out of, the one thing aside from like the F5s, it's not a quick pin. It's not like move executed, quick pin. It was execution, fold one arm, fold the other, wait. And so you kind of wait on bated breath. Like, is he going to kick out? Is he not? Especially those Shawn Michaels Triple H matches towards the end. The CM Punk had one of the best kickouts of it because I really thought like, they're not going to protect CM Punk that much. When he kicked out of it, real excellent stuff there in the end of his, undefeated streak run, you could say. But overall, I agree. Hall of Fame. So we're down to the final move on this set of the tier list, the wrestling finisher tier list. It's the Walls of Jericho. I already know where you're going, JC, so I'll go to you first.
What's up, jobbers? It's a submission, and this submission, this is the one that you can easily put your friends in. And yeah, it does hurt a little if you kind of lean into it. But at the same time, you want to talk about an easy move to reverse. Anyone can get out of the Walls of Jericho. It worked great for Jericho because the way he sold it, it was great. It looks good for him. But this is the definition to me of a jobber finish.
Billy?
Again, one of the all-time GOATs with a submission finisher. And for a while, he wasn't even doing the knee in the back. He got rid of that for a while. That was the lion tamer. I don't know if they didn't want to call it that because of WCW or whatever the rub was with that. But for the longest time, he wasn't even doing it the most devastating way. And like JC said, if you're ever put in the old school Boston Crab, which it was for a long time, that's the easiest thing ever to get out of. And by the way, it doesn't hurt. It probably stretches out a good amount. So it's a jobber all the way.
I absolutely love the move. Doesn't matter what the hell I say. All right, so we've kind of placed everything here. We don't have to review it necessarily. So we each get one up, one down. Anything you see here that jumps off the board to you can jump in. For me, first of all, I'm just going to start this.
I think we let the guest go first. Guest got to go first.
I don't. Screw the guest. Anyways, all right, JC, who do you can choose? One up, one down first.
So can we just review the Hall of Fame so we can set the precedent of how? Okay.
Sorry, yes. The reason I'm doing it is because visually it's hard to remember what these are.
But those four, I think we just need to hear. Yes. Because it's Mount Rushmore right now.
In the Hall, yes, that's true. There is four. In the Hall of Fame is the Glam Slam, the RKO, the Stone Cold Stunner, and the Tombstone Pile Driver.
So those moves are the GOATs. They're amazing. But all those moves, Rossi, they've been kicked out of. You know what hasn't? The End of Days! Move it up to the Hall of Fame, baby! Baron Corbin, future WWE Hall of Famer, probably
what
like
the
everyone.
Christ?
Never been kicked out of. How is it not Hall of Fame? Never been kicked out of. Probably never will be because Baron Corbin will take the L, but he will not let anyone kick out of his finish.
All right, so I'm just going to go second because I was on a podcast for a long time.
I'm going to be sick.
Wrestling, and I wasn't a part of the name. So I'm going to take the Glam Slam and I'm going to move it down just because I think it's a phenomenal move. But I actually like a few other female finishers way better. I think the Eclipse, if it was on this list, I would put it in the Hall of Fame because it's devastating and awesome. So that will be my first move I make. So Rossi, it's on you, buddy.
All right. I cannot go to sleep tonight. I lost my Sharona last week. It still has a bad taste in my mouth. Bret Hart is not going in anything with the name Jobber listed on it. Nothing he's ever done. I'm trying to see if he did any of these other moves in general. But I'm going to have to take two of my favorites of all time, Jericho and Bret Hart, just sitting next to each other in a jobber category. Literally is making my skin crawl. So I'm going to take Bret Hart out of jobber and put him in kick out at 2. It still hurts.
I thought you'd go higher than that.
I can't. No, you only can go one category. You can't jump it all the way. All right.
So JC, you get to move something down now.
Oh man, I didn't consider this one. I'm trying to see the picture.
And you don't have to. You don't have to. But
I don't. Where did we end up on the leg drop?
The leg drop is in jobber. So the jobbers, I'll recap for you. Jobbers are the DDT, the KO punch, the leg drop, the running power slam, and the Walls of Jericho.
I don't think I have much of a problem in terms of moving stuff down. I think the ones that are jobbers deserve to be jobbers, and I think they kick out at 2s are right where they belong. So I'm going to stand pat in this one.
Okay, Billy?
I'm going to move up because I have my move up. I'm going to move the People's Elbow up to the main event.
This is unbelievable.
It's the fucking goddamn Rock, and he delivered it. He looked great doing it. He was the most electrifying person, the People's Elbow, the corporate elbow, everything he did, he sold. You could literally put a fucking piece of crap in his hands and he would sell it to you because he's the Rock. And that's why that move is fucking electrifying.
You say piece of crap. He once rock bottomed the British Bulldog on a pile of crap. So I guess you have a good point. Listen, there's no disrespect to The Rock himself, the performer. It just that move, it just irked me that was the end. I'm just trying to peek here. Is there anything else really to move down? I don't really think so. I think this list looks good. I think we did a hell of a job. I'm going to put a link out on Twitter at PopCulturePD. So you can actually do this list yourself. We'll put ours in there. You can feedback, give us your thoughts, concerns, worries with what we did here. But I think we did a hell of a job here, boys.
I think it looks great. We got a Mount Rushmore of moves at the top, and then we have a middling pack, and then a couple of shitty jobber moves.
And we also have Baron Corbin in there too, somewhere at the top. I don't know.
Never been kicked out of. I knew JC was going there, and I totally agree.
Undefeated.
Yeah, sure. All right. Well, that'll do it here. I don't want to be there. JC, where can the fine folks find you on Twitter and the podcast?
You can find me on Twitter at JC of the JK, but Nestlemania, he runs the at Jobberknocker accounts. You should follow that as well, because that's where all the important information comes out. We also have a website, jobberknocker.com, that has a lot of good stuff to check out all the time. Predictions, weekly recaps of the shows. We don't really have time to hit on the podcast every week. So iTunes Jobberknocker is the main one, but we're available on a million others too.
Love it. And make sure you guys, if you're getting over there, hit them up with a 5-star review. These are hardworking gentlemen just like us, and that you want to hit it. You got to show a little bit of love to the Jobberknocker, just like you want to leave it here for the Pop Culture Pile Driver. And Bill, before we let JC go and we get out of here, do you know what happened this week in the hashtag Dorkshared Gooniverse?
I believe that Mac and Goo reviewed the 1986 movie Aliens.
They did.
And then I don't know what anybody else. Oh, Dork did
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai, which I have not listened to because they're doing stuff that I want to see, but I'm just like, I can't watch anything lately. So Cobra Kai looks dope. And then changed my mind. I think I listened to the podcast, but I already forgot what it was about.
They did Devil All the Time.
Yep, they did indeed. And then TLDR probably reviewed some comics. I haven't listened to that one yet. So I did a hell of a job. I can't get into the Google Doc yet.
It's all right. I'll have to figure out a way to just send it to you. I'll send you a screenshot. But nonetheless, Bill, so next month, Bill, we do September sweeps. JC, I hope you know how important you are to wrap up our September sweeps.
He's the closer.
You're the closer. You're the
everywhere you want to be.
I'm honored. And you know what? It's right at the end of the month, too.
Main event.
The main event. It should be wrestling.
Yeah, you're like Baron Corbin's End of Days.
There you go. Never lost.
So we went, Bill. Let's real quick, Bill. Let's look at this. We started off the month with the Disney song draft with Shime and Goo. Then we went into the what the heck do we even do now? Oh, then we did The Office, right? We did The Office review, season 1 and 2, which was a goddamn disaster. And then we had that was including Fryer and Rich Keefe. And then we had the top 11 fast food items, and that was including Doc and Mac. And last week we had the One Hit Wonders draft again with Davey and Wes. And this week we wrapped up with JC, one half of the Jobberknocker, with the wrestling tier list. I'm not asking for your favorite, Bill, but I'd say it was a hell of a month.
I would say it was a month full of controversy because every podcast we did, people were furious with us. And I think we are the podcast of controversy officially now.
Bill, are you messing with the thing, or is that like somebody else coming in?
I have no more control. Okay. I didn't even see JC in the chat earlier, so I don't have the power. I need to talk to Wes to get the pro count.
No, I got it here, but I think someone else is in here because the artwork keeps moving around, and I'm like, Bill, are you messing? Oh, not even happening today. Not today, my friends. But anyway, so just to wrap up here, Bill, we have October coming up, and JC, are you a horror movie guy at all? Do you dip into that realm?
I like a good horror movie.
Okay.
I'm more of a slasher guy, but I like the horrors too.
So let me ask you, because this is next month we're gonna balance out some stuff. But Bill that's not his genre of movie. He's not a big horror guy. If you had to think of like 2 movies that you would suggest Bill see, what would they be? Off the top of your head, it's okay.
I mean, I think you just got to go with the simple ones. Some of the OGs like Halloween or the Screams, like just the cookie cutter immediate ones you think of because they're there for a reason, man. They're popular.
I'm trying to think of something that I think would actually make Bill like disturbed. And I was thinking like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That would probably F him up.
Yeah.
Everything scares the absolute beans out of me. I know my former roommate Kevin would watch a lot of them with his girlfriend Lauren. Every time they would put one on, and be like, "All right, guys, head to my room."
But
even
you know what?
Like Stranger Things is my level of scary. Like Scream is probably my hands down favorite horror movie. I love that movie. I think it's just a great movie. Period. But I like Jaws as well, but that's more of a suspense horror.
Mhm.
If it's straight up like gruesome horror, I know Mac and Goo are talking about like the grossness. If it's got gross in it, you want to see my reactions, I'll have this camera, I'll have it recording.
Oh.
You will see me cringe, look away, get up, walk away, like Fryer watching an episode of The fucking Office. So if you want that, you're going to get it.
I think, Bill, one thing I really would, I almost want to is have you watch The Human Centipede.
Oh, no. Dude, I watched the Tosh.0 review of it where he talked about it, which was longer than the movie, and I was sick to my stomach about him talking about it.
It's one of the more like disgusting pieces of film that's ever been like at least massively released. Yeah, that'll do it. JC, I really appreciate you jumping on here, being a part of the show. Hopefully we can connect again. We'll like we said, there's some debate season. We're in debate season. Maybe we can do a little Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart kind of debate. There's a whole lot of info.
We'll have to get Nestle in for that one.
Oh, it has to.
I know he was super bummed he couldn't make it, but as you
I know.
he's got his hands full literally with double dose of kids. So
Two.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously, again, check them out at the Jobber Knocker. Appreciate you being on with us tonight, JC.
Thank you, my friends.
All right, Bill, that'll do it for us. We'll be back next week. October starts, Dorktober 5. We're a part of that shit now. So we'll be back next week. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, wherever you find a podcast. Follow us at Pop Culture PD, and we will catch you all next week. Be well. Frank says hi.